Imagine sitting at home, watching live television, when suddenly a man in a suit tears open an envelope and announces, with absolute confidence, that a DNA test has just revealed Michael Jackson may have had a secret son. A number fills the screen. 99.9%. The room goes quiet. And the internet explodes. That's exactly what happened in March 2014, when a press conference on film and TV introduced the world to a musician named Brandon Howard, known as B. Howard, and claimed his DNA matched Michael Jackson's through testing tied to an old dental impression from a singer. The staging was immaculate. Cameras rolling. Documents held up for the audience. Hosts speaking with the kind of measured certainty that makes your brain say, "This must be real." Television has always known that confidence is a convincing substitute for proof. Within hours, headlines were everywhere.
Michael Jackson secret son?
DNA confirmed? Social media swallowed a whole before most people even thought to ask the obvious question. Where did this DNA actually come from, and who on earth verified any of it? But here's where it gets strange. B. Howard himself never once stood in front of those cameras and declared Michael Jackson was his father. According to reports, his comments were far more careful than the spectacle surrounding him. He didn't push the claim. He didn't announce a lawsuit. He walked into a television studio, and the presentation around him became the story. The envelope, the percentages, the theatrical reveal. All of it built to look like science, feel like a courtroom bombshell, and spread like wildfire. And it worked. Then TMZ started looking at the paperwork. And what investigators reportedly found was almost too bizarre to believe. The logo printed on those official-looking lab documents didn't belong to any accredited forensic institution. It traced back to a promotional T-shirt from the 2009 sci-fi film Terminator Salvation Star. Not a laboratory. Not a certified DNA facility. Movie merchandise. Think about that for a second. A story serious enough to dominate global entertainment news was apparently backed by documents decorated with imagery lifted straight from a Hollywood action film. And the moment that detail surfaced, the illusion didn't just crack, it collapsed entirely. Reporters stopped asking whether Michael Jackson had a secret son. They started asking how a live televised DNA announcement had made it to air without anyone checking the paperwork first. Because if a logo on a lab document can be forged that easily, how many so-called scientific TV revelations have relied entirely on audiences never looking closely enough? That's the uncomfortable question sitting underneath this whole episode. But the fake documents weren't even the strangest part of this story. Long before anyone in a suit was waving envelopes at cameras, Brandon Howard was already living inside a rumor he never created. By 2014, thousands of people had already convinced themselves they were looking at Michael Jackson's son every time B. Howard appeared publicly. Not because of any evidence. Because of resemblance, gut feeling, and the almost eerie power that celebrity myths hold over how we see the world. His mother, Miki Howard, was a respected R&B singer who moved through the same entertainment circles as Michael Jackson during the 1980s. Reports of a brief romantic connection between them had floated around for years. And once people knew that, every coincidence started feeling like hidden confirmation. They looked at Brandon and saw Michael everywhere. The eyes, the smile, the soft-speaking voice, the musical instincts. Online communities ran with it, split-screen comparisons, slowed-down audio clips, fan theories that treated pixels as genetic evidence. Repetition became reality frightening fast. And somewhere in the middle of all that noise, a young artist trying to build his own career got completely swallowed by someone else's legend. And what they found next, nobody expected. While the internet was busy arguing over forged documents and facial similarities, another man stepped quietly into the frame and changed the shape of the conversation entirely. Not a tabloid reporter. Not a television host. A real musician from Michael Jackson's actual world. Singer Augie Johnson, a backing vocalist with ties to Jackson's 1979 album Off the Wall *, publicly stated that he, not Michael Jackson, was Brandon Howard's biological father. He described a genuine long-term relationship with Miki Howard around the time Brandon was born.
No envelope-tricks. No dramatic percentajes.
Just a direct, personal account of family history. And almost nobody cared. Because here's the uncomfortable truth about how information spreads. Michael Jackson may have a hidden son travels globally in minutes. Session vocalist claims paternity barely survives the news cycle for an afternoon. The media machine naturally orbits the biggest possible mythology, even when the quieter explanation is far more grounded in reality. The moment Augie Johnson entered the conversation, the internet had everything it needed to slow down and reconsider. Instead, most people ignored him completely. The cinematic version of the story was simply too powerful to release. And that says something genuinely uncomfortable about how celebrity culture operates. But maybe the most revealing part of this entire saga isn't the fake documents, or the competing father claims, or even the viral frenzy. It's what was happening, or rather, what wasn't happening, in the legal world while all of this played out on screen. By March 2014, the inheritance question wasn't just complicated. It was already settled. Michael Jackson had died in June 2009, and California probate law operates on strict timelines. Courts want estates closed, assets distributed, debts cleared, and legal uncertainty resolved within defined windows. Those deadlines don't pause for viral moments. They don't care about television DNA reveals. They exist precisely to prevent situations where billion-dollar estates remain in perpetual legal limbo, waiting for new claims to emerge years down the line. The window had already closed. Quietly. Long before the cameras rolled. And here's the part that makes the entire spectacle feel almost surreal in hindsight. According to statements from his own manager, Howard never intended to pursue the Jackson estate legally in the first place. No lawsuit strategy.
No inheritance offensive.
No legal team preparing filings behind the scenes. Millions of people consumed this narrative as though they were watching the opening act of a massive courtroom battle, and according to the person at the center of it, that battle was never coming. Even if the DNA documents had been completely legitimate, which, by all credible accounts, they were not, the estate still wouldn't have been thrown into chaos by a percentage on a television screen. Real legal systems demand far more than that. Accredited labs. Verified chains of custody. Evidentiary standards. Filed claims submitted before deadlines expire. The moment you apply any of those questions to what aired in 2014, the whole thing dissolves almost immediately. So zoom all the way out. The DNA documents were reportedly fabricated. The legal window had already closed years earlier. Howard's own representatives denied any intention to pursue the estate. Another man had publicly and personally claimed to be Brandon's father. And yet the myth not only survived, it thrived. It spread. It became part of the wider conversation around Michael Jackson's legacy in a way that quieter, messier, more ordinary truths simply never do. Which leaves one final question hanging over everything. If the science was fake, the law was already settled, and the person supposedly at the center of the story was actively distancing himself from it, then what exactly was keeping this narrative alive? Just resemblance. Celebrity obsession. A forged logo from a movie t-shirt. And a deep, almost desperate human need to believe that the biggest stories are hiding something even bigger underneath. Maybe this was never really about whether Michael Jackson had a secret son. Maybe it was always about something far more unsettling, how easily a televised scientific revelation can harden into cultural truth before a single person bothers checking the paperwork. And honestly, what's more disturbing, the fake DNA test itself, or how completely the world believed it before anyone thought to look?